And we're back. And we're back with our returning champions, our good friends, two of the only good MLS podcasters. Please welcome Noah and Ari from Lobbing, Scorchers up in Seattle. How you doing?
Good. Appreciate that intro. And yeah, really excited for these two teams to play each other. This is a matchup that you don't really get a lot. So it's just going to be really interesting to see two teams that just, don't know each other that well face off and go at it.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of speculation around, will they, won't they? What's going to happen? There's not really much precedent for these two teams playing each other this season, the last season. So, it's almost a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity coming up here.
It is special when two teams, this is like one of those dream matchups, right? Like when a guy goes from WWE to AEW and you finally get to see him fight, it feels like that's what we're getting this weekend.
This is not a Sporting Kansas City podcast. We don't have to get into wrestling.
But in all seriousness, though, I think there's probably some Seattle people that are dreading this matchup, just given the recent history between these two teams, which I think we all know and recognize. But I don't know. I was thinking about it today, and the way I feel about it is like the streak is never going to end if you don't play LAFC anymore. So there's really no reason to like dread this matchup. Like I'm excited for it. Like let's do it. Let's do it again.
Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of want to know from your guys' perspective. I think, I'm not looking forward to it because I do feel like you guys have a chip on your shoulder about our team, and you've also been playing better lately from what I've seen. Tell us what what's different about Seattle since the last time we played you at Star Fox 64 Field.
Well, I think what you have is a team that's played a lot better during the back half of the season, pretty much universally, except for when they play LAFC specifically. So they definitely, since the Open Cup games and really since these two teams faced off last time, Seattle's been in pretty good form, really good form, honestly. But what's different about them? I don't know if there's that much different, but I think the defense is playing at an extremely high level right now. You saw that in the Houston series, and there's still challenges offensively, but the offense has by and large functioned much better pretty much from the summertime onward, just not against LAFC, which is the hurdle that they're going to have to get over here.
Yeah, I don't really think there's been much different. I think that's kind of been an issue with the Sounders. Not saying that we're not going to, roll in there and bam 5 goals on you guys, but it's been a good attack when you see Jordan Morris and Albert Rosenak playing really well, and it's been very different when you don't see them playing at all, which we saw against Houston, and we trolled 2-0. Was it 1-1? I don't know. 1-1, 0-0. Who cares? Whatever. And got bailed out with some really dumb red cards. So not excited, not really different, but also completely different just because of the vibes.
For LAFC fans that have been like overconfident, and even for these guys here on the podcast, I've been reminding people that LAFC has never beaten Seattle playing at home in a playoff game. And I think what I want to ask you guys is it a benefit that there are so many players still on the team from when you played LAFC in 2019 and beat us at home? And is it going to be bad that Edward Atuesta is still on our team, but will be on the bench? Because clearly he was your best player in that game.
I think it is a benefit that Seattle has a lot of guys who were there in 2019. I was out at Sounders training today, and I was talking to Jordan Morris about exactly that. I asked him that.
Real journalist.
Said, yeah, real boots on the ground journalism. I asked him that exact question.
You for your service.
And he said, yeah, like we can lean on that. We've been in this situation before. And he was sort of talking about how they don't kind of mind the underdog role, which Seattle is definitely, I don't think, it reminds me a lot of 2019 in the sense that I don't think anybody really expects Seattle to win this game. And I think they're playing with house money a little bit. And when you're in that situation, you can play a little freer. And I think that's what we were talking about. I was hoping they would lean into for the Open Cup game because they were the underdog there too. And that didn't really power them through that time. But like, it just feels like the odds are even more stacked against them this time, even though I do think the 2019 LAFC team was better than this one.
And for some reason, Seattle hates to play at home. It's like their least favorite thing in the entire world. They would rather, travel to the Siberian Peninsula and, kick around on a frozen pitch. So somehow I feel like it is like you're saying, they've never beat the Sounders at home in the playoffs. I think, there's kind of a feeling there of like they can just block everything out, go do that, figure it out. You win, you lose. You were never meant to be there in the first place. So
we hate playing
law
at
of
your stadium
averages,
too. To be
Law of
fair.
averages. That the streak statistically just can't go on forever.
Yeah.
So
we're big stats guys
I'm
here.
big stat guy. Once you get to the 7th matchup in a row or whatever this is, like just eventually it's got to flip. If for no other reason than that, it's not going to last forever.
I just want to say we're big. Careful what you wish for. Things can always get worse, guys. So just gonna throw that out there.
Oh yeah.
I got to tell myself something.
Yeah, we've got like, what are we supposed to do here? It's like, oh, here we go again. Time to go to work at the gonna lose factory. Like, so you still gotta wake up in the morning and put your boots on and
you guys got a unionize.
job. And
you're losing
you guys
so
have
much.
had the experience of having watched your team lose to the same opponent 6 times in a row. You get to a point where it kind of stops affecting you in the same way that a normal loss does.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe they understand with like finals, but maybe that would be it.
Excuse me.
I'm trying to remember the last final we just
of the
played
year.
Yeah.
Of all time, which is
That's right.
America's Cup.
The People's
That's true.
Trophy.
You can get a couple more, and then you can come talk to us.
How many U.S. Open Cups equals 1 MLS Cup?
Oh,
well,
I think 5. I think
Sounders
5.
I would say
should have
5.
calculated
got
that of
4,
all
and I don't know if
Yeah,
that calculation has been made,
Yeah.
but yeah.
got
I
to be
do think-
divisible somehow.
When I think of some of my worst memories as an LAFC fan, Seattle is involved a lot of the time. And so
Yeah.
I think like going into this match, I have some I'm not looking forward to either if we beat you, then playing the Galaxy, but also this match. Like I have so much fucking PTSD from that 2019 game where we were, it must be like how Miami felt, where we felt invincible. And then it was just some of the ugliest soccer I've ever seen. And I left really sad, I would say, very sad.
The way Seattle plays hasn't changed a whole lot, unless I'm mistaken, too. And like they're annoying. Like, do you enjoy watching the team that you root for have that style? Like,
I'll let Ari answer that one because I'll be the hotter take here.
I think there was definitely a point this season where the attacking play was so anemic that it was hard to watch because it just felt like pulling teeth the whole time. For me, like since the offense picked up a little bit, I have started to enjoy watching them again because there's a lot of very, very, really awesome, talented players on the team that do really cool stuff out there. But like, it's not the same experience as watching Inter Miami where they're going to hang 4 or 5 goals on you because they have a bunch of the best players that have ever played the game. But me personally, I can appreciate a team that plays elite defense, is very technically skilled, and is opportunistic in attack and in transition, which is really honestly been the Sounders' identity for a long time now. So I don't honestly think it's that much different, except earlier in the year, they just weren't scoring goals.
Yeah, like, is it interesting to watch? Sure, like, it's not the worst thing in the world. Like, I've seen, I've seen us lose to San Jose. Like, that was the worst thing in the world. But
well, yeah,
happened to us.
Andrew at home against the Quakes this year.
Yeah, so I think where my frustration comes is this: like, there's a lot of and what a lot of Sounders fans feel is it's almost there. It's almost there. I dubbed this the season of almost, where like we got so close, but just not there. You have Paul Rothrock putting in dimes, and it seems like, maybe 1 out of 5 of those Jordan Morris is finishing. 1 out of 8 of those Jordan Morris is finishing. So you're just like, God damn it. Get your foot out there. You're like 7 feet tall. Like, put that ball in the back of the net. There's no Denny Bouanga where you can just be like, I'm confident that the GOAT is going to go out there and just like go crazy. So it's a little frustrating, but like Ari said, it's actually really fun to watch good defensive soccer, and even more impressive like when you understand where the team's at and just how talented Brian Schmetzer is at utilizing this group of what is essentially, like, in my opinion, you have a really high like ceiling and then everything just kind of falls off after that.
I did not leave that Open Cup game confident in our ability to play well against Seattle. It felt like that game could have gone either way. It was true chaos the whole way. And so while this will be an adult-sized pitch, I do think it'll be I am not going into this game overconfident the way that I think some fans of LAFC are.
And
I
one thing I would hang, the Seattle hat on is Brian Schmetzer is a good tactical coach. I don't care what anyone says. Him and his team getting to play the same club and get their ass beat multiple times, I think that's a good indication of like he can work through that. So I'm doing a little copium here, but I gotta hit that somewhere.
The other thing I'll say is that the way I think of it is if Seattle wins this game, it makes the whole losing streak versus LAFC worth it, because ending that streak by knocking LAFC out in the playoffs in their own building again, it would be like a full circle bit, you know? And I would appreciate, like, I would look back on the losing streak versus LAFC with fondness if they win this game.
Yeah.
If they win this game. If they lose this game, then it's just another part of the streak.
Yeah.
But,
I think that's totally fair. I think that's earned.
Beating it twice at home in the playoffs is a fluke. 3 times is a pattern, and then we have a streak.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And you're in the driver's seat right now. It's, we would argue, because we're a Galaxy podcast, we would argue Galaxy's in the driver's seat to win the cup this year. But with how the East is shaking out, it seems like LAFC is in the driver's seat. The pressure's on you.
Whoever wins this game has a really good chance at coming out of the West. Not just, obviously because they're in the West final, but Minnesota, I don't think is scaring that many people. And the Galaxy, for how much we're a Galaxy apologist podcast, they love to choke and give up really bad goals in inopportune moments.
It's like their top 5 favorite moments. It's like David Beckham, Robbie Keane, and then giving up really shitty goals. That's like their favorite things. Ricky Puig is in there too with his fancy jeans. He's hot.
What a well-dressed man.
Yeah, exactly.
So before you go, we came up with a really dumb segment that we want to play with you guys. And Darren and I were a few beers deep at a bar after our last game, and we came up with the softest idea of all time. And it's called You Gotta Admit. And here's how it works. We'll go back and forth. Someone from our show will say a you gotta admit, then someone from your show will say a you gotta admit, and we'll say something that we think reflects your team or your city. And then you guys get to decide, the opposing podcast gets to decide whether or not they gotta admit that. Does that make sense? So, and we'll be honest. We have to admit something, we will say whether or not we gotta admit it. Okay?
We can commit to that as well.
Yeah.
Great. So I'll go first just so we get the ball rolling and we have a feel for it, and then we'll go back and forth. Okay. You got to admit, the Sounders are so irrelevant that some people think Charlie XCX made up that shade of green.
You kind of do have to admit that.
You do got to admit that.
You do have to admit it.
Middling,
I never,
green.
I didn't make the connection between those shades of green, but it's true.
Sounders are brat.
Brad,
if you're not going to make that connection, who is?
Yeah, we really saw how that strategy worked out. So
yes, it's a winning strategy.
Yeah. All right, I got one.
Yeah.
All right. You got to admit that it's pretty funny that LAFC signed Olivier Giroud, the leading goal scorer in the history of the French national team, World Cup winner, and Kai Kamara is still a better option than him on the depth chart at striker.
You got, I'll admit that.
I think we'll admit that pretty quickly.
I was just thinking about it today. Like,
I think he doesn't start.
Yeah. Like if I'm Steve C and I'm making this lineup, I'm literally starting Kai Kamara over Olivier Giroud, which is funny because Kai Kamara is like the definition of an MLS lifer, and Olivier Giroud, you can't get over him on the depth chart. Impossible.
He literally was just in the Sierra Leone on his 40-year-old legs, traveling across the world, and will be coming back a couple of days before the game. But yeah, let's move on.
I love him. I did ask him to come and play in Seattle after this year, and he looked at me longingly at the shitty field and just shook his head. And I'm like, damn.
I'm surprised he didn't say. I'm surprised he didn't say, "Wait, I haven't already." Did I? He's like, I've lost count myself.
All right, I think you guys.
Should we do another one?
Right?
Yeah, that's how it works. I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. The first one I had in mind was also about the color, so I got to switch one.
Oh, you guys
This is
changed
good
that?
stand up right here. This is how I would be at an open mic, just like
All of ours are about the shade of green.
Okay.
I don't know.
What else I got? What else I got?
Guys don't,
What
you guys
else-
don't
what
like
else is
colors? I
happening in the
guess
news?
it's going to be a long night.
you guys seen
okay.
that TikTok app? Charlie XCX, everybody.
You got to admit, Jordan Morris runs like a fat kid realizing he can actually run for the first time during a relay race at summer camp.
Oh my God, this is so much more
Yeah.
elaborate than mine. Yeah, you do have to admit that. You do have to admit that.
My dad says he looks like he runs with a stick up his ass, so that's always in my head at all
He's
times.
moving really fast, but it is pretty
Yeah,
funny.
It used
still
to be
maintains-
better. He used to be like a lot. I think he went to the gym. He used to be like a more chubby, kind of like big hunk of meat kind of situation. But he
That's early in
he
his
looks
career.
like a
Yeah.
soccer player now.
He's a lean
Yeah.
cut now.
Yeah, he had the freshman 15 on from his Stanford days, but it was like 45. Oh boy.
You got to do one. I already did one.
Fuck.
So.
Okay, I had one, but I don't know if it's good. You got to admit that LA drivers are some of the worst in the entire country. But damn, does Ilie know how to sell a tire?
Wow,
That was a good one. That was a good
Yeah.
one.
that turned into a compliment.
Yeah,
sort of.
Yeah. I would love to admit that. He's got the smart choice. And I honestly think changing lanes without your blinker, also the smart choice.
I do have a sticker that says, "You don't have to tell me you're from California. I can tell by the way you drive." And I stand by that.
I actually proved what you just said on my way home just now on a Continental tire. It was essentially flat. And I went to a gas station and filled it up as much as I could and still drove home. So I think I proved both of those points.
And you could roll that into how you've got to admit that the Sounders are kind of like a tire that you just keep filling up and it's leaking air,
Yeah.
but you're just trying to get to the next off season.
fair.
Well, I guess you guys go. You just did ours
Okay,
for
you have
us.
to go. I got it.
I have to go again. All right. I'm just going to come up with one right on the spot right now. All right.
This is really good crowd work right now.
You got to admit that when Steve C talks, I mean, I don't even know how to describe it. You got to admit that when Steve C talks, he sounds like it's like a soccer robot. I would describe it like he gets asked a question and just like his vocabulary
Steve
and
CBT.
also the way he they'll be like, "Steve, what do you need to do to go win the game this weekend?" And he's like, "Well, we have to go out there and we have to score more goals than the other team and then we will win the game." Like he's very
It is a chatbot.
he's like a cyborg up on the podium.
Steve Chat GPT, is that what the C
Yeah.
stands for?
There we
Yeah.
go.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It took me a while to
It's
formulate
okay.
that.
That
take,
one was
but
that was a banger, Ari. I don't that was a banger.
Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
No, I think you're right. I think, well, I mean, Vince and Steve are good friends. Vince, are you, do you agree that Steve,
I will.
sucks?
Yeah, I mean, I'll agree because he has just this utter contempt for the media.
That too.
Yeah.
And really, it's just him being like, I have to be here, but I'm not going to tell you anything. I'm not going to give you anything to actually write about. So here's a bunch of soccer terms.
The voice does read as, if you want, it reads as like saying it through gritted teeth. Like, I can't believe I have to talk to you at all.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm
That's
speaking solely about myself mostly. It was a tough go, me and him.
Yeah.
Vince, do you want to?
I do.
you
I have
wanna-
one that I think will be controversial. Maybe you guys will actually
Let's hit
push
it.
back.
Yeah.
hit it.
Because I'm trying to stew
Yeah.
one up here and it's just we're running into
Well,
stage fright.
You got to admit that while many noteworthy things in Sounders history have occurred at Starfire, the field's actual historical significance is that Denny Bouanga christened it with a stream of piss before the Open Cup
That's right.
semifinal.
Yeah,
You do have
that's
to
pretty.
admit
Yeah,
that.
that's pretty good.
Damn,
That's top
yeah.
5 Sounder. I mean, it's. I gotta say, actually, that's the one I disagree with because
See, that's why I said I knew it was going to be controversial.
the amount of shithousery that's happened there. I think that's like one, there's
It's
a 1A,
true.
1B. I think that's 1B just because he pissed all over us in that game.
Literally.
So like that's there. 1A is Clint Dempsey absolutely bullying a referee, stealing his notebook out of his hands and ripping it up. Like
in a game where you had 3 players get ejected, 1 go out injured. You finish the game with 7 guys against Portland, and Obafemi Martins goes out for like 3 months because of that game. Like
Yeah,
that was
just
the
like
all-time Starfire
Yeah.
game, no question. But the LAFC Open Cup game this year with Denny Bouanga
Mhm.
pissing on the field was very good.
bad officiating, handball winner, like just that's a banger. That's a
I
banger.
do
was
think
a banger.
if you beat us, someone from your team should piss on the field at BMO.
Oh,
Yeah.
just right center
okay,
pitch.
here's last one. You got to admit, in 2019 when Seattle knocked LAFC out the playoffs and Nuhu kicked the can of Dos Equis back into the stands after someone threw it at him, that rocked.
Yeah.
You gotta
Well, or
admit.
you could just say that was his best shot on target of his career.
It's the cleanest
true.
strike he's ever hit.
Yeah, exactly. There we
It
go.
actually was, yeah.
And I will admit that honestly, like of all the things that you could do in that moment, it's pretty fucking badass.
Yeah.
Like,
And the
Yeah.
picture they got of it is my all-time
Yeah.
favorite.
Yeah. I have one more.
okay.
While
go
Steve
for it.
C may be one of the best coaches in the league, you've got to admit that Vanni Sartini is way better at giving head.
You got to admit, I don't have
Shut it
any
down.
on admit.
It's over.
I don't. Yeah. Look, he's
He's the only one who's given us any evidence.
No, I have some evidence with Dolo. I think that Vanny's better.
Wait.
Okay, that's our segment.
We do
I
have,
have
we have
I'm
an
gonna-
embarrassing amount more that
No,
that we can
I,
skip.
that's
I
fine.
like
That's fine.
the segment. It's a
Yeah.
good segment.
I do
I'm
want
so
to
sorry
end
that
on.
we have now ruined all of your sponsorship opportunities, but that's what we're here for.
Thank you so
We
much.
did that on our own
Jeff.
just fine.
We'll end it with one that I think you'll very much disagree with. You got to admit, Paul Rothrock, not even that handsome. Not that handsome.
Ooh, bad
Ooh,
take.
bad take.
Bad take.
Wow.
Bad take.
That's shots
Bad
fired.
take.
We'll stand for a lot, but I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for being here. Are you coming to the game? Will we see you on Saturday?
We're actually neither of us are. I had like Thanksgiving travel plans like already set, so I
was
just couldn't
planning
go.
on it, and then I have to work or some shit. It's
Ooh,
really
fucking
dumb.
bullshit.
That's a drag.
Sounds
Yeah.
like neither of you were really anticipating Seattle being this far into the playoffs. Is
Well,
that what
when we eventually go face off against the team that we do the podcast about, the LA Galaxy,
Mhm.
I'll
we
go to
will.
that.
We will
I'll go to that,
we will be
yeah.
going to that game.
Okay.
So,
Okay,
yeah.
great.
We'll hit you
Well,
guys up.
enjoy-
We'll hit you up. We can do
It's
a
much
collab.
closer to the airport.
We should all go together.
Yeah, I'm down. I know the mascot. He's a cool guy.
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
We have
Yeah,
que- we have
he
questions,
sells
actually.
great weed.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for being here. If people want to listen, how do they find you?
Lobbing Scorchers on all platforms.
sounderatheart.com/LS.
And then
Subscribe and support, folks. The best Seattle soccer coverage is on there.
sub
We
to-
want your money.
Sub to our YouTube. We're trying
Yeah.
to get to 1,000 subs.
But realistically, find us on YouTube, Lobbing Scorchers.
They can at least do that. That's free.
Yeah,
Every
it's free.
single person listening right now, go subscribe to Lobbing
Do it.
Scorchers on YouTube. We love them. Thank you so much for being here, and hopefully you won't be popping champagne next time we talk to you.
We'll see.
Appreciate you guys. Looking forward to the game.